Hello, everybody. My name is Joshua Hammer. I'm a sales operation manager here. Just a little bit about me. Been with Sucuri now for 4 years. Once again, the title is sales operation manager, which means I do a little bit of everything. Married with two little girls. Beautiful daughters, and I love games, video games, board games. Doesn't matter if it's a game. I'm into it. I even look at security kind of like a game or puzzle. So that's where my passion lies. With that, I'm going to hand you off to Victor so he can introduce himself.
Thank you, Joshua. As some of you may know from visiting previous webinars, I'm an account executive here. I've been here about 3.5 to 4 years. With a boy and another one in tow in January with my wife. We're very much sports lovers, and so NBA season is upon us for here in the States, so that's something we'll be definitely tuned for. If you're on social, Twitter is where I'm likely most active, share a lot of technology and security related things, but if you want to have an active sports discussion, by all means, I am game for that as well. From here, I'll hand it over to Steve. Be kind, and otherwise, Steve, take it away.
Hey guys, this is Steve Renteria, account manager here at Sucuri. Also on social platforms, you can find me on Twitter. I'm also have a large presence on LinkedIn. I do regular posts as well, so feel free to stay in touch with me there. A little bit about me. I've been here at Sucuri now for 2 years, father of 3 beautiful daughters. I've been a musician for most of my life, so been playing multiple instruments, guitar, bass, I know a little bit of piano, some drums. I've written and recorded a lot of my own music, so it's just a big hobby and thing that I do. A huge foodie, always in the kitchen, trying out new recipes, doing new stuff. Love to explore, new things and try out different things. Used to be in the Marine Corps. Served about 4 years in there. Learned all kinds of stuff like how to blow things up and keep people safe. So definitely right fit here at Sucuri. There's quite a few of us ex-military here. But yeah, I'm looking real forward to working with all these new agencies, helping you guys get started and be successful right out the gate using our product and making sure that it's working for you and your clients. But I'll hand it back to you, Josh.
Fantastic. All right. So this is part 1 of a 4-part series of our sales enablement team. We'll be going over a lot of different things. In this one, basically, we wanted to introduce ourselves, give you a little bit of background about what the sales enablement team is here for, some upcoming resources, how to contact us, and mainly answer any questions that you may have out there. So if you got questions, get them in, so at the end of the webinar we can help you out. As always with my webinars, I like to be short, sweet, to the point. So let's get started. Sales enablement. What exactly is sales enablement? Basically, our job here is to help you with our product, get out there and show it to your customers and help protect them. It's an interesting field because nobody likes to talk about security until it's too late. So we prefer to be proactive than reactive, and we wish everybody else was like that, but it's just not the case. So what kind of resources are we talking about here? In the next couple of months, we'll be seeing a new agency knowledge base coming up on our site. Victor is going to be putting that together for us. This will be specific to questions, answers to our larger customers that are more high-level stuff and less of the kind of end-user kind of thoughts. Video walkthroughs on how to do things in bulk, and my favorite, lunch, because man, I love food. Lunch and learn calendars, basically where we'll do a webinar with you individually or your sales team, and perhaps provide lunch and just kind of go over things with everybody, because you got a lot on your plate. So training the salespeople for one more thing is probably not something you're jumping up and down to do. Let us do it for you. So with that, like I said, short and sweet. I kind of want to hear from you guys. What kind of questions do you have?
Yep. So actually, we had a question coming in even this week, like right before we did the webinar. sent by Alfonso. He sent us an email, and I'm going to read the question to you, Josh, or anybody else that wants to pick it up. So the question was how to approach and wean a potential client if a website that you notice is infected. Upon reporting the issue, most of the times they tend to think you are the one that hacked the website. When they don't, they tend to go into the company they initially contracted for building the website instead of realizing that company was usually negligent in a way or another on contract before, instead of contracting your services. So basically how to get them to talk to you instead of going back to whoever developer did the website.
Okay. You want to take that one, Victor, or at least start?
I'll take it. So I think a lot of times that mindset comes from a site owner that thinks their site is small, right? So how could it possibly have been compromised? Why would it even receive that type of attention? We actually had one of our remediation analysts put out a post on our blog in June talking about why security still matters for small sites, right? And the reason for that is mainly because most of these attacks are automated in mass now. And so whether the site's small or large, built on WordPress or anything else, it's going to get some type of attention. And I would tell that, if I were that provider, I would tell that client, look, ultimately, attackers don't discriminate, right? So size of the site or what you're putting out as content makes no difference. You should be able to still put yourself in a position to succeed, to minimize risk, because ultimately, most cases, sites will always get hit, attacked, targeted in some form. So how long ago did you change your password? 5 months ago? Well, that's probably a problem. How long ago did you update your software? Are you enabling 2FA wherever you can? And if you get no to any of those questions, there's an open possibility there for the reason of the compromise. So just instilling that, I think, as making sure you're covering all your tracks there.
Yeah, and to add on to that too, just to touch on what Josh said, the idea of being proactive rather than reactive. So once you address the pain point and get that going, that could be a further continuation of the conversation. Just let's put something in place to keep this from happening ever again.
Yeah, one of my favorites, a story of a customer I had, probably 2 years, 3 years ago, where they called in and immediately started attacking us because obviously we hacked their site and put the malware on there. That way they'd pay us to clean it up. I can't tell you how many of those I get. It's amazing. And they blame the host. Okay, well, it's the host's fault. You didn't protect me, or the host put it on there so that they could get the referral money to send me over to you guys. And after you okay, why would somebody even do that? Because long run, yeah, that $10 that we're going to pay to refer you over is going to be so much more to us than you being a happy customer. Then they turn around and start blaming the security analyst that, well, you guys hacked it then, because why else would my site get hacked? To build off of what Victor said, though, it doesn't matter the size of your site. The fact of the matter is that it's a CPU that they're attacking, right? They can use that to the big one right now is Bitcoin mining. They can use your server's resources to Bitcoin mine. It has nothing to do with your site. It has the fact that your site is hosted on something. So there's an end result of profit out there, and your site's just helping them be profitable. So got to protect that.
So the website is sort of a collateral damage.
Exactly. Yep. Casualty of war, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the questions coming in from agencies are really interesting because they kind of tie into the how do I get them to scenarios. So the one we have here now says, how do I not scare clients away when asking to add costs while they expected that I have the security part covered already? I think that's a big issue.
Who wants to grab it?
Feel free to jump at it, yeah.
Go for it, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of adding an extra cost to, and then requesting that, that cost be raised, it's always that, that jump in the chest real quick, like, oh gosh, are they going to say yes? Are they going to say no? Are they going to cancel and leave me? The fact of the matter is any of those are true. But it's the way that you position it, and similar to answering the first question where we talked about, how do we talk, people into it? Really, it's, a matter of talking about the benefits and the things that protect their site. What could be, you move the fear away from the cost of it over to what could happen if they don't apply this cost. That's really the key portion of it, and that's really the hurdle that needs to be crossed or jumped over when it comes to talking to your clients about this kind of stuff, because they're unaware, and when you're unaware of something, fear sets in, and really that's the emotion that is governing whether or not they're going to say yes. So what we have to do is do our best to get rid of that fear by giving them all the knowledge that we have. And that's part of this enablement team, is to be able to give you guys, be able to enable you guys to be able to get rid of that fear, to help explain these features and what we do and why security is so important, and why it's why we're the best choice for that.
Yeah, and I would add on, like, in a lot of cases, you as a developer, provider, as an agency, you're doing something to an extent, right, to help either maintain visibility or update to prevent issues, right? And I think being honest with your base about, listen, we're doing a lot that we can on our own. We've always have, it's something we've been transparent with you about. But similarly, we're going to be very honest with you about the fact that we need more, right? And there's only so much time we can dedicate to security when we're not proficient at it. So, we are going to need to ask you guys to help us invest in a little more to prevent issues, because you're reading about all data security breaches, right? Tie in something recent that they can understand and tell them, look, we're going to work with this specific this security provider because they give us the best route forward to ensure that not only our stuff is safe, but yours. And so to do that, though, we have to make some adjustments in costs and keep it honest and, very transparent, so that they feel like what you're doing ultimately is in their best interest, not so much to, disguise the fact that, oh, you weren't doing anything. Well, no, we were, but just we need more and we can't do more. So that's why we're reaching out to this vendor.
Yeah, obviously security is an ever-changing topic, so things change all the time. The online presence changes, the internet changes constantly. What's required of websites, what these hackers and bots are doing, it's always changing. I mean, that's, having a company that's on top of those changes like Sucuri is extremely important.
Sometimes it's even okay to say, you know what, we're all experts at something, right? I can pretty much guarantee you Steve, Victor, and I could probably build a website. We're probably not as good as you are at it. I mean, if that's something you're focusing on, that really well. As Steve said, security changes daily. 0 days are out there every day. And if you're studying to build websites, you're not studying to know all the ins and outs of the security field out there. Just like your end user who may, who knows, sell nails. They could know everything about nails, but when it comes to a website, they're just deer in headlights going, oh, that's technology, and I ain't touching that. It's kind of the same thing. They're paying you money per hour to do something for them. And if you tell them, look, you're paying us and we're doing a good job at doing it, but it's time to get experts on there. And if you want to pay me to become an expert, that's going to cost you a heck of a lot more than paying somebody who's already an expert.
That's right.
Yeah, things are heating up. Just to remind those who joined us later, we will be having this webinar as a video recording available maybe within a few days after today. So don't worry if you missed anything. You can always go back and replay. Moving on with the questions, here's another interesting one. Are there specific features of this service that resonate with the website owner I can highlight? So in other words, how can I present this add-on service better for a possible customer?
I like the CDN. I think that's a great go-to for an end user is, guys, it will speed up your website. It'll help you with different areas of the world viewing your sites, lower the DDoS risk, because everybody loves the word DDoS. and they just like hearing it. So it'll lower that risk. That's some of my favorite go-tos.
I think also it also has to do more with, what technologies are you using for your sites? Because we have a lot of different benefits that can cover different aspects, right? So, for example, most CMS platforms have some type of plugin extension theme that or module that you're reporting onto your core instance. We do a lot of virtual patching to get ahead of whatever potential, like 0 days. We're just the recurring theme here. When new 0 days come out, in a lot of cases, our default rules already pick up on that, right? So it doesn't require you to update, which basically eliminates windows of opportunity for attackers to swing by, and gives you also time to properly push those patches through in the event that you do have a thorough, dev and staging production workflow that needs to be accounted for before you make changes. So the virtual patching for me is probably the biggest thing, because it just takes a lot off your plate. In addition, it eliminates that urgency and panic whenever people talk about a really high critical patch, right? So that for me is one of the bigger features I think that'll help not just the agency, but the end customer themselves.
Awesome. A very short questions here. How do I schedule a training session? So I guess somebody's already obviously convinced that they need it.
I think the easiest way would just to be email one of the three of us. We can get that scheduled. Just set it up on a calendar. That way we can get everybody involved in your company, and then one or all of us will be on that same call, and we'll go over marketing ideas, sales strategies, things like that to try and help move the business forward and get Sucuri sold.
Yeah, just shoot us an email. We'd love to have a high-level call with you, and then we can drill down exactly what you want us to do and set up a time to do it.
Awesome. Michelle is asking here, I would like to sell them on the protection rather than response, but seems like a hard sell. Any tips?
Well, I think our agency plan falls perfectly into that. If your clients are more concerned with protection, and this is even better if nothing's wrong with the site currently. Our agency plan, the licenses in general start off with protection and monitoring. Incident response is handled on an as-needed basis. So this is an even, that's just an extra, bullet in the gun there for you to be able to get that one closed.
And keep in mind, guys, that it's a lot easier to prevent an issue than to fix an issue. Once a damage has been done on a Google ranking, for those of you who do a lot of the SEO, you know that it's hard to get it back up there. So to point out that you've paid a lot of money to get your ranking up there, you want to keep it up there, because if it falls, there's no easy fix. Getting somebody to go in there and fix the malware does not immediately fix the ranking. That takes time again, and all that money you put into it, you're going to have to do it again. So it's better to be proactive than reactive.
Awesome. We have another question here from David. Let me just read it. It's a bit longish. How best to explain the value difference between WordFence paid version, Sucuri, Server, iTheme Security, and others? Cost seems to be a major obstacle to selling Sucuri versus other free plugins or paid. Typical client response, we already use WordFence and haven't been hacked. Why should we pay so much more for Sucuri? Anybody want to shot at it?
Yeah, I think in those types of cases, right, you're talking about like iThemes and WordFence, right? The common thread there. You're installing something in your environment to address the issue locally. Now, you may have to do that across the 10, 20, 50, 100 sites that you're managing. What is that going to do eventually? Well, depending on how you deployed your server and if you've got enough server resources allocated, one thing you want to, let's say in this case, very, very transparent about your customer with like, hey, look, yeah, iThemes and WordFence are valuable pieces, but if you face a large volume-based attack, so you get brute force, you get DDoS in some cases, right? That, brute force can come in large waves. So if the server is not built to, run efficiently enough to withstand, have WordFence spin up as an example and cannibalize your resources, that may impact performance of the site, right? In a lot of cases, the reason we can be really effective is because we're cloud-based by design, and we can offset that load so your server's not inundated with all that. We absorb the brunt of it, and your server never sees it. And so in those cases, I mean, that's just one immediate benefit off the bat where it's like, well, we're not only just trying to protect your site, we're also trying to optimize your site and optimize the server your site's on. And every security vendor is going to have very different features, right? Like where one offers remediation services, one doesn't. And so I think not every security vendor is apples to apples. I would encourage listing out benefits. We even have a comparison page on our site for those two as well. And it'd be good to sort of get a better understanding, be like, well, yeah, WordFence is effective, but there are other benefits or other things you're missing out as well. So that's sort of my take on that.
Awesome. Anybody else want
to? I love plugins. I do. But anybody who knows that the more plugins you have on the site, the harder that site has to work to run. Which is why you really want to be careful about what plugins that you're installing onto the site. Because we don't sit on the site, we sit before the site, like Victor said. That's not really an issue on our end. We're not going to affect the server load in a negative way. But because we're a CDN as well, we're actually going to reduce the server load, which means that your server, which is designed to display your site, can use all of its resources for what it's designed to display your site. Let somebody who is not on that server protect the site. And you're right, you haven't been hacked. And we'll cross our fingers that you're never hacked. But just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen, unfortunately.
Yep. Moving on here, unless Steve, you want to add anything?
No, I was just thinking, if anything for that, from a sales point of view, really the best way to answer that question is to just, address the fact that, yeah, okay, the benefits of what you're using are free, or they cost a lot less than what we're, providing here. But the reason why this costs more is X, Y, and Z. And Josh and Victor did a great job of kind of explaining X, Y, and Z there. So, it really is a matter of, explaining things to people in a way where you're not knocking what they're saying, because obviously that is a benefit. Money is always something that's on people's minds. So being able to address that, but then also explain the benefits of why. An old adage that I've always used is the best way to sell anything is to explain the benefits over and over again, or keep explaining benefits until the cost doesn't matter or makes sense. So just something to keep in mind when you're talking to your clients.
Awesome. Amina, hopefully I pronounced the name correctly, is asking a question here, and let me read it. How can we enable our customer to manage their own CDN WAF? For those unaware, web application firewall. As a partner, I've been asked about this, and there's no way to do so apart from the WordPress plugin.
Well, I wouldn't say there's no way to do it. What I'm going to point out is that earlier, I told you this is part one of a 4-part web series. The next part is probably going to be interesting to you because that's all about our API. And there is a lot of things that you can do via the API, including creating buttons on your dashboard that would allow them to manage content on their WAF. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that you can do via the API, such as changing or clearing the cache. Offhand, clearing the cache is such an easy one. In fact, every single site in any of our dashboards has its own private API link that you can hand out. They never need to log into their dashboard, or you never need to log in. They just need to follow that link and it clears the cache for that individual site. That's just one example of something that you can do with the API. So you could create buttons on your cPanel if you wanted to that immediately link into our backend for each individual site. But we'll have more for that on our next webinar.
And I think another thing about that is just, I think the API tools are really useful, and in a lot of cases, not just for your customer, but the team, right? You might have a lot of remote working teams that may not have direct access to the web portal that we offer. And so having something that can communicate externally through API, and like even API IP whitelisting and modifying country blocking and that kind of stuff. Those are things that I've worked with other developers that have had a lot of traction with, and so yeah, we'll dive into that further in the next part of the series. But there are ways, and there's not to say there's no way beyond the plugin or so.
Awesome. Next question here from Tom. I would like to add your product to our dashboard. Any help you can give?
If by dashboard you mean like the cPanel or Plex or what's the other one? I always get the acronym wrong, like WCMS.
W10CS, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, that's the one. See, it's an acronym. I don't know this stuff. We are working on a Plex support plugin that should be available soon. In fact, we have another follow-up call with them next week. And the WHMCS is hopefully in the works. It hasn't been on the dev calendar yet, so that's a little ways off. But I'm going to point to the API again. That is something that, with a little bit of development time, you can pretty much do anything you want to do with our API.
Yeah. And we have documentation to help with the APIs we have available. So if you need them, want to see them, our emails are there. Reach out. We can produce those.
Yeah, that was one of the questions, where they can find more details about the agency plans or what exactly they include and stuff like that.
The website, our website, has a spot that talks a little bit about that, but honestly, the best way to learn more about the agency plan is to just get an appointment scheduled with one of our account executives. We can go over everything.
Just come on in the chat and ask for one of the consultants, and we'll jump right on there with you.
Perfect. Well, if nobody has anything else to add, we do have a lot of extra questions, but our time is up today. It's been really interesting to see so many agencies coming on and asking questions, and the dialogue has been really productive. Thank you so much, Joshua, Victor, and Steve, for joining us today. Taking time out of your busy schedules. I'm sure the same for our audience. Thank you so much for being with us. Again, I've seen some questions, and yes, we are recording this session as every other session we do for webinars, and you will be able to see it on our website. If you are a registrant, you're always going to get an email afterwards with the recording, with the slides. And of course, mind what Joshua said, we will be having 3 more episodes to this series. It's a 4-episode series, and we'll be welcoming you back. So thank you from my side. And Josh, if you want to end with a greeting for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you guys coming out and turning on to our webinar here. Reach out to us. Our emails are on this slide here, and they'll be posted in the next couple of days. If you had a question that wasn't answered, we'll definitely get that answered and thrown on the site for you. And we hope to see you next time. The next part of the webinar series is going to be all about how to leverage our API and some more information on the API. So hope to see you all there, and appreciate your time. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.